This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What is happening, you guys? Welcome to Let's Go Win podcast. I'm J.M. Ryerson, and to my right, I have Lisa Ryerson.
Morning.
I wanted to start with what it is today. I don't know where I heard it, but I was like, that sounds kind of fun. Different way, because I almost start every podcast the same way. Anyway, sorry. I thought it was kind of fun.
That is fun. What it is.
What it is. So what it is today is we are talking about 3 quotes to shape your communication. I am a big quote guy. This was hard for me to do because I have the rule of 3, as you all are very familiar. I believe in simplicity. I didn't want to do 3. I wanted to do like 20 because I have so many quotes that I love. But when it comes to communication, I'm going to give you the quote. And I would love to get your perspective on what that means to you. Because for me, just like reading a book, when you say a quote, it's so interesting to think how you perceived it versus how someone else did versus how someone else did. In fact, I did a podcast the other day with a guy that he had 6 pieces of Legos that you make a duck out of. And he says there's up to 6,000 combinations that you could actually do it with. I'm not sure how that math works out, but apparently that's what he told me. He said in every training he's ever done, no matter the size, not once has he ever had someone do the exact same in a room. I just found that interesting. So to that point, I want to start with these quotes and just kind of get your idea on what it means to you. So Maya Angelou, obviously, she has been quoted so often. She said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Just that, to me, that's very powerful. So how do you take that?
That is super powerful. It really boils down to, for me, it's like, it's not about you, right? It's not about what you did, what you say, whatever, but it's more of how you affected others and influenced others, right? And it boils down, and we talk to the kids about this all the time, is just being extremely kind, to their peers, to their coaches, to everybody, and to be grateful and be thankful. And that is so important, because when you are a good human being and you are being nice to others and you're taking care of them and you're putting them first, it really makes an impact on people. So I truly believe that.
Yeah, so this one is interesting for me, and here's why. As a coach, so often I'm asked to be, I don't know, I guess it would be very direct, not curt, although sometimes I come across that way. Mm-hmm. And so this is one that I have to be aware of, because intentionally I may say something, literally my intent is to say it this way, but the way it's received from the other person is not that way. So that's something I've really got into a point of saying, look, this is coming from a place of love, not from ego. That has given me some grace with people to say, oh, he's not actually an asshole. He is trying to help me. He just doesn't deliver that message very well. And there's some people that they have a silver tongue. They just, the way it always sounds nice, but then maybe it's not being heard. So this is a tricky one for me sometimes. And I know you being direct as well. Sometimes we say things that it wasn't meant to hurt. Right. It was literally, we're just communicating. And that's something with the way you were raised. And we've talked about this on the show before versus the way I was raised. Communication styles were so different. Right. That when you're just trying to communicate with me, I'm like, why are you being such a jerk?
Stop yelling at me. I'm like, oh, you have no idea what yelling is.
So one of the ways that you can really think about this quote is to think, if I just state my intent saying this is, and then whatever you're about to say, it gives you that much more opportunity to say, if you don't hear it that way, please let me know. But people will forget what you said. They will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. I think about that when I think of my previous relationships. I don't remember all the things that are said. Words, typically they come and go, but man, when they'll say something and it made me feel a certain way, I will associate that with a human being.
I love it.
All right. So the second one is by Teddy Roosevelt. Again, I quote him frequently. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I'll just go ahead. I'll give you, go ahead. What does that mean to you? And how's that applied for you in business, in personal relationships? Because this one, again, it took me a while to pick up on this and really understand what this meant.
Yeah, a perfect example of that, in my opinion, is when I was, I worked with Appreciation Financial, for the last 7 years. And I am not the most knowledgeable human. Like I always say, my brain is not very big. I keep things very simple. There's not much in there. I can't process that much information, right? I've never been like a really amazing student. I've gotten by. I went to college, I graduated, but I was never top of my class, right? Or I had to work really hard to get the grades I did, and they were mediocre at best. So for me, it's, when it comes down to, can you do that quote one more time? I totally went off on a tangent. My bad.
People don't know how much you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. So when I was working at Appreciation, I knew enough about the products and how to help. I just trusted in the products. I knew they were awesome. I had them for my retirement, life insurance, all that stuff. And I knew they were good for my clients, right? But at the end of the day, did I know all the ins and outs of how it worked? No, right? I had to ask experts on it. I had to research it. I had to do all these things. But what was incredible was I truly loved my clients. I truly loved every single one of them. We connected on a whole nother level. I really cared about their future, their children, when they were going to retire on time. And that was really important to me. And that, I think, it transformed into, I think by the time I left, there was over 1,000 clients that I had, and they knew I cared, right? And they're like, no, you can help me from Florida. I'm like, no, I really want somebody to be local to help you. And so I think that's a good example of it, right? Because if you truly care about people and doing the right things, that's awesome. People are not, super impressed if you just rattle off a whole bunch of numbers. Like nobody cares, right? They don't care that you're super smart or they graduated from here. They need to know that you care about them.
Yeah, for me, this is communication 101 with speakers, and I'll see speakers, and if they get up there and they're telling about how they got on their private jet and they did this and it's all about them, I don't really care what comes out of their mouth next. Now, I know that does motivate some, and I get that, and that's cool. But for me, if I don't think that you genuinely care about the people in that room, I really do kind of shut down on it, because I've met so many people that are quote unquote successful, that are gurus, and they're up there, but they don't give a shit about the people that they're saying it to. Or I've seen them behind the scenes and they don't act that way at all. And that's where and you know this about me, and this is where every marketing company we've ever worked with, they kind of are like, okay, so you're not this person. And they're right every single time, because who I show through the camera, that's who I am. I love giving people hugs. I love just caring on them. And I'm not going to talk about some materialistic thing just to sell a product. So to me, that's what it's always meant to me. That's my perception, right? That I want to know that you genuinely care about me, not just something you said on stage, but you genuinely care about people in the world. And that's where the gurus, that's where I think they get a bad rap. So if I'm not coming through, give me feedback. I want to know, because this is all about love. This company literally exists to inspire people to live their best lives. And that's what this one is, because we care about people, which is why I love and you know what? We're going to finish with that. We'll talk about what you're opening up. The third quote that has shaped my communication, and it's actually from Thumper from Bambi. So I actually thought my dad, I always credited my dad with this quote. And so I always fact check, and I'm like, oh, do a little Google search. It comes back as Thumper from Bambi is the one that actually said this.
You thought your dad said this quote?
Yes, because he said this to me every single day. But Thumper from Bambi actually is credited with it. Now, maybe my dad came before Thumper. I didn't do that much research. I just gave credibility to the famous Thumper. And it is, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. I have heard my dad say this to me. I don't know how many times. I could retire based on the amount of times because, again, I'm very direct. And what he was always telling me is, why talk about something negative? If you don't have something nice to say, just keep your mouth shut. And so I don't remember Bambi well, but now it kind of makes me think of my dad with ears. And I'm just saying. So
I don't think your dad came before Bambi.
I don't think so either.
It's been around a really long time.
I'm going to get fact checked on this. I think Bambi came around 1940s. I'm going to say 1944 is when I'm guessing, but I might be completely wrong on that. So what does that quote mean to you?
Yeah, so I've had to really work on that because people who know me, I've always been told, yeah, I have no filter. Like, it's just, there's no, like, oh, let's check and see if that's not nice or nice and not say it or say it, right? It just kind of thought comes and it just comes out of my mouth. And so I've really had to work on that over the years because my honesty and my bluntness does not come across well for most. And so I've had to really go, okay, let's really think about how is this going to come across? How are people going to perceive it? And if that's going to hurt that person, I need to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, the question I always ask myself is this coming from a place of love or from ego? And typically when we're going to say something not so kind, it is a place of ego that we're coming from because somehow this person may have hurt us, or in the saying that we've talked about, hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. And so that applies in this situation, in my opinion. If I'm hurt, the next thing I want to do, and we are literally conditioned as kids, is I'm going to go back and I'm going to hurt you with something. That's where this saying comes into play for me. That this quote just smacks me in the face where it's like, am I just speaking from ego? Because it sure feels that way when I'm being honest with myself. And I know in that moment, you can really zing them and get them with that. But the truth is, who cares? Now you just have lowered yourself to their standards. You've lowered yourself to their standards. And now you're on the same level. So Dad or Thumper, thank you for this one. It has been really impactful for me. And what other thoughts do you have on communication? These are the quotes that I used, that I came up with, that I love. But is there any others that you can think of that really have shaped your communication?
Let's see.
And no is okay.
Yeah, you've nailed those. I mean, I've heard those ones over and over again. Hurt people hurt people. I think that one was a big one for me, right? Because a lot of times in the past, when people were not nice to me, that was kind of my first reaction, like, oh my gosh, like that's horrible, right? How can I get them back? Or like what they did wasn't nice. And now I don't, like maybe I'd go talk behind their backs or whatever. And over the years, I've really made the choice to be like, no, they're acting that way for a reason. Right. And just having that compassion and empathy for those humans, because I truly believe everybody is doing the best that they can with the tools that they have. That's another quote that I love. And I have to remind me of that all the time, right? Because I'll be out driving and there could be a 110-year-old person driving on the road here. And I get frustrated, right? Because I'm rushing to take a kid to baseball or whatnot. And Trey, bless his heart, he's the sweetest thing ever. He will always go, Mom, you're going to be old one day too. And you're going to be a bad driver too. So if I ever need to get grounded again and feel that empathy, like Trey's my man, because he'll just sit there and, make sure that I get grounded again on that. But it's just really knowing, like sometimes, for example, we'll go to dinner and sometimes a waiter might be snarky or whatnot. And my goal is to kill people with kindness, because I truly believe that I can turn people, right? Like, yeah, like who knows? You don't know what their day has been like. You don't know what their life has been like. I've been through really tough times in my life, with my brother passing, even our marriage. I mean, there's been a lot of things that have been very challenging. And I guarantee I was not the nicest human during those times because I was hurting, right? And so just having that empathy for others, I think really helps. Because now I go, oh, they just need a hug. And I try to give them as much love as I can.
See, you did have quotes, and don't worry, babe. You don't have to get old to be a bad driver. You already are. Oh, I love you.
No, that's just racist and sexist at the same time.
See, that was an example of you don't have something nice to say. Don't say.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say it.
But when you're speaking facts, I mean, it just is what it is.
Well, now I'm just, I want to have empathy for you and say that you're ignorant and give you a hug. But you know what? I'm just going to let it go because I'm not going to go down to your level today.
Well, hopefully I made you feel laughter and not anger. So what are you working on? Because I know that you are working on a little nonprofit that you've been doing. Can you tell people more about it?
It's going to be a big nonprofit. I'm so excited about it. Yeah. So it is called Let's Go Give. And it is to inspire others to give back for cancer research. And the reason being is because I lost my brother. Gosh, it's going to be next week or this Sunday, actually. It's going to be 9 years. Oh. Did I do the math right? Yeah. 9 years this Sunday. So I lost my brother to esophageal cancer, and it was really, really fast. And he was 49 years old, way too young. And I just knew at that moment, like him dying, I needed to carry on his legacy. Like something good had to come from it, right? So yeah, that's going to be, it's going through all the approval processes and all that stuff. So it should be approved in the next 4 months. And we're going to start having huge galas and fun events because I love all those things and to raise money for cancer research.
Well, I'm proud of you. It's an amazing thing. And we are going to give back a lot of money to cancer research. And I'm proud of you. So, All right, you guys, until next week, continue to transcend in life. We'll talk to you then.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.